Focus on Ghana is brought to you in association with MoneyGram.
Welcome back and thank you for sticking around. We're looking at the democratic process and, of course, democracy in Ghana, relating it to the African situation. Michael Ansah, Kofi Kwache and Michael Amwa are with me on the show, and we're discussing this issue. And viewers, I have posed a question and I want your answers sincerely. Where do we have to start changing things? Electoral Commission, the Commissioner, or the whole process, or probably, as some have suggested, the Constitution? Let me find out from Musa on the line what he thinks. Hello, Musa.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead with your point.
Hi, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I think that our attitude needs to change first and foremost from the grassroots.
Right.
And it doesn't matter who becomes the commissioner. If it gets to a point where people are not getting the results they are expecting,
yes,
they end up calling for the electoral commissioner to be changed.
Right.
This person is an independent person. This person should be somebody who is very, very strong enough to stamp up his authority, as he shouldn't be on any side or have any past to be a partisan person.
Right.
The next level is that people should be well educated. That's the public education, to know their rights of what is expected of the people that are supposed to run the election.
Okay.
The other thing is also a proper training of the electoral officials on the ground. Most of those problems that we had were people not well trained and putting wrong information at wrong places that caused all those problems that nearly cost our economy.
Okay.
So we need to be very, very careful with that.
Well,
And
very succinct points. Gentlemen, he thinks that the public education bit, Kofi, will come to the point that you were making. Musa says that we need to have a public education. We need to have a very neutral, objective person to be at the top, and also to make sure that we train the electoral officers very well. Kofi, we can't help but agree with him.
Yes, of course. I mean, but the point is that what we have to admit and accept is that we can go through all these processes, all these changes, and we'll still have flaws or mistakes. You know, no election can be perfect. We have seen in this country, you know, like even in America, that it can't always be perfect. And in Ghana, we have only 8 hours to run elections, you know, across the country. It is quite a daunting task, you know, for the electoral commissioner and his team, you know, running elections across all the villages. Look at Afram Plains, you know, some part of Afram Plains, helicopter has to actually take the ballot box, and when counting are done, you know, all these difficulties in operations becomes a problem for electoral commission. So it's good enough, you know, talking about changes and here and there, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, because of the issues that we have in the country and because of the kind of people we are, we're going to have problems. Problems will come. The point is that the issues of elections, if they affect everybody equally, then we can, you know, accept the elections. The issue, if the issue affects one person or give another person undue advantage, that's why we can look at it. So we have to make sure that even when issues are going to come, they're not going to give
well, I am tempted to ask the question. We always talk the talk, but have we ever walked the talk? Pastor Jones Latte has joined us on the line. Hello, Pastor Jones Latte. Hello, and your point, please.
Good evening. My point is simply that nobody should be disfranchised in Ghana to vote.
Right.
The biometric registration is a farce. It was a waste of money. We should have a simple system like we have in England here, where everybody can simply register and vote, and nobody should be denied the right to vote. It's just as simple as that. So that because look, there are countries where people have struggled just to get the right to vote, and people be in a queue, and then they vote, and then some political party says their vote should be annulled. I don't think it's fair. Everybody must have the right to vote, and that's all I want to say.
Well, thank you very much for your contribution. We appreciate that. Michael Amwa, the changes we are looking at, I've said that sometimes we just talk the talk. We should do this, we should do that. And, well, I dare say the politicians are very good at that. This should be done, that should be done. At the end of the day, what have we done, and what do we have to do and really do to make sure that the process and all the concerns that have been brought across would be addressed?
I think that consensus is very important. And taking the example of what the caller just said about not disenfranchising anyone. As it happens, the biometric system has come to stay. So there's nothing we can do about it at the moment. However, both parties are working with the Electoral Commission on how to make sure that everyone is able to vote. So, for example, the Electoral Commission proposed that if you actually are not verified, then there ought to be 2 witnesses in the queue or around the polling station who can verify and say, oh, we know Joe Bloggs, and that Joe Bloggs can vote. However, the 2 parties or the party advisory committee also responded to the Electoral Commission and said that, no, we think that the verification is scientific, and if you are not verified, then you simply cannot vote. So at least there is some consensus there about, you know, whether one can vote or not.
I think you know, the issue of voting is very important. It's important that everybody gets a chance to vote. So when we're talking about electoral reform, I mean, we're talking about the sorts of things that we should do to continue to give people confidence in the process. So confidence is a key thing. Now, if that confidence means we have a verification process, because, as you say, because of the nature of us as a people, and we all accept that that is the way we should conduct our elections, then we should make sure that process works.
That's right.
You know, we shouldn't wait on the day of an election to change the law or to change the rule or to say for this reason we're compromising on that. So once we agree on something, that's why the IPAC exists. Once we talk and we agree on something, we should implement it. You see, and I think we should make the point that, you know, the system cannot be deemed to be 100%, you know, without any issues. There will be issues. But we should increasingly seek to remove these things so that we gain confidence in the process. As a political party, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for.
Well, I'll give the final point on this part of the discussion to Kojo Yanka, who's joined us on the line. Kojo?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And I greet my listeners, the listeners as well. I mean, you posed a question which said that is the problem to do with the commissioner? Is it to do with the commission?
Well, I didn't say it's a problem. I said we're proposing reforms. Where do we start?
Right. The problem that you're looking at, you said the process, the commissioner or the commission. If we go with the process, we are getting very vague here. If we go with the commissioner, we are getting very narrow. I think that it is the commission. And when we went to court, or when the MPP took the matter to court, the judiciary, at the end of the day, or the Supreme Court, we are expecting them to come up with some punitive measures for the commission, that if this goes wrong, this person is responsible. I believe that if we go down that route, then people would take personal responsibility. So if I, for example, I am the presiding officer here at this polling station, and something comes wrong at this polling station, it will not be very vague. It will be narrowed and you will be zoomed in. Then people will take personal responsibility. So as I sit here, I'm waiting for the Supreme Court to come and tell us that this is the process, this is what we have done, and these are the punitive measures. Thank you very much.
But the LI provides for all these things that I'm saying. You know, in fact, the polling agents and stuff like that, and the presiding officers, they can all be prosecuted for perjury. If you put your signature on something and you find out that there's something wrong, you colluded something, you can be prosecuted. The law provides for these things. As to whether we are applying the law when there's issue, that's the problem. You know?
So why are we not doing that? That's the question.
It's an issue of accountability. You see, and that's why I made the point that, you know, we need to take accountability right from the top to the people who are counting the votes, right at the polling stations. And if that accountability culture is not enshrined in the process, that's where we have the issue. Okay, so why should the presiding officer be thinking of resigning or taking punitive action when maybe the commissioner or other people have done things that, you know, I'm not saying they did, but what I'm saying is that we need to make sure that people recognize that you will be held accountable for what's happened, and the law will be applied. Okay, so if something did happen, I mean, there was, we know the instance in Domi when the votes were counted, and a huge error was made. Okay, I'm not saying somebody did this or somebody did that, but somebody had to take responsibility for putting that number on the
And the obvious question, maybe I don't know whether Doctor you have an answer or Kofi might have an answer. These anomalies were pointed out, admitted in court. Why is it that nobody has been punished so far?
No, I think if it's you can't prove whether the person did it deliberately or it's just a
no. But
mistake.
the point here is you've done something that.
No. If you look at the case in point, the dummy case, the dummy case clearly was a mistake. You know, somebody entry mistakes. You understand? You know, you can. It's going to be very difficult to go and prove in court that somebody he did it on purpose, or you know. I mean, clearly it was when they track back. You know, they could see where the mistakes were committed and they could easily correct it. But I think that, you know, the reform that we need to do, you know, most of it is going to come from the Supreme Court themselves, the verdict. We have to look at the law, you know, because what they've said.
Well, the verdict has been given, so it's now in the premise of the Electoral Commission to do that.
Well,
I think that
in addition
recommendations.
They can't insist. You know, they made recommendations, and those recommendations had to be taken on board by the Electoral Commission, and that then needs to be, translated into law. You know, so the Supreme Court only could make a recommendation, and that's what they did.
Let me get your points.
Yes, that's right. So after the recommendations, the nation needs to have a legal system whereby there can be some punitive measures to serve as deterrents. Otherwise, what guarantee do we have that in 2016 people will not try and do the wrong things because if they think they can get away with it?
Right. Well, the question I would want to pose at this point in time, move us into the next level of the discussion, is that the Institute of Democratic Governance in Ghana has organized a forum, and from the forum there have been various suggestions. One, to have an electoral reform, as we have been discussing. We look at the way the political parties are run, especially between one election and the other. What happens? Those in government, those in the opposition, and of course, the whole constitution would have to be looked at. We will be coming back to look at all these issues in our discussion and also look at what it is that we can add to or probably take away from the IDEC recommendations. Focus on Ghana is discussing Ghana's political process as to between one election and the other, and of course the whole democratic situation. We would want you to contribute to the program, call us and let us know what you think. There are some viewer comments we might be putting across. We're going on a break, and when we come back, we continue.
Focus on Ghana is brought to you in association with MoneyGram.